Feng Shui literally translates as wind and water. Now, we can see water, can't we? So, if I just pick this up here, we can see there's a tiny bit of water in the bottom of the glass. Is that correct? Yes. Yep. Thank you. Can we see the wind? We see the effects of the wind. So Feng Shui is about creating a change in our physical or our seen environment to create a change in our experience of life, or the unseen. And that's what the Tai Chi is about. So this little symbol here is known as the Tai Chi. And basically it says, so there's another concept called yin and yang, which can be seen as being male and female, can be seen as being the wind and the water. And we say that within every bit of yang there's a little bit of yin, and with every bit of yin there's a little bit of yang. So there's that crossover. So we create some changes in our environment and creates change in our experience of life. So if you've got different things that you're looking at every day, you're going to change the messages going into your subconscious. Does that make sense to everybody? Yep. So if we have better images, better things going into our subconscious, do you think that we might feel better about ourselves and better in life?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so that's really what I'm going to talk to you about. Just going the wrong way. Let's go this way. So, a gentleman called Winston Churchill, some of you may know who he is. He was the Prime Minister of Britain for a while. He came up with this little phrase. He said, first we create our dwellings and then they create us. So basically, first we build our houses, and then as we live in them, they create the kind of life that we lead. So depending on what kind of dwelling we're living in, if there's a lot of light coming in, then we're probably going to be a bit happier than if we're in a dark cave or a bit of a hole. Okay? Now, what we're going to look at is the classic configuration of where we create these dwellings. So we want to create our dwellings ideally halfway between the wind and the water. So we know that Feng Shui literally translates as wind and water. We don't want to be... Who lives in Brisbane here? We all live in Brisbane, don't we? Yeah. No. We know we don't want to be... Okay, well some of us don't. We know we don't want to be too close to the river, don't we?
No.
So we don't want to be too beach. Okay.
Yes, we know that. He's in the high rise. I'm in the low rise.
Okay. We also don't want to be on the top of Mount Coot-tha because it gets a bit windy up there. So ideally what we're looking for is somewhere between the bottom and the top. So we're looking for something that's a cosy embrace. And we typically refer to that, can I throw this chair? We typically refer to that as the seat of the armchair. So if we can just imagine the chair here's got arms on it, if we're there, we've got the water or the opportunity coming in this way, we're protected from behind, and we've got this nice protective embrace around behind us with the arms, so we feel safe and cosy in that space. And when we're looking for where to build our dwellings, our shopping centres, our villages, our cities, we're really ideally looking for that. Now, the opportunity, we say, comes via water. And in times gone by, that was the waterways of the world, because that's how we had shipping went around the world and we had the exchange of goods. Today in modern society, we look at that as being our roadways, like our waterways. We also want to be protected from behind. So whenever we're sitting somewhere, for example, I'm sitting over there against the wall, so my back's to the wall, nobody can come up behind me with a bit of 4x2 and bop me over the back of the head. So if I come around here past Karina and Adam, and I can't even get through there, okay, here behind Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth, how do you feel right now? Okay. So it's a bit intimidating, so we want to be protected from behind so that we're not likely to get hit over the back of the head with a bit of 4x2, or somebody's coming up with a rifle or something. So when we were halfway up that mountain, nobody could approach our homestead without us seeing them first. So we could put the billy on, make a cup of tea, and we could also have the shotgun at the ready in case they had less than honourable intentions. So we want to recreate that in our homes today, because even though we say, oh well, it doesn't matter and we're not like that anymore, anyone know anybody that gets backstabbed at work or has some of those horrible things going on? None of those happens? Oh, we've got a few nods. Come on, even a hand. Right? So even though we like to think we're a bit more enlightened these days, we're actually not. So we all still want to create that feeling of safety and security behind us. And our subconscious wants that, right? Because if we haven't got that, on some deep level inside of us, we're kind of a bit concerned about what's happening. And just like, I think it was Elizabeth before, was a bit worried about what I was doing down there behind her. On a subconscious, unconscious level, we're concerned about what that is that's happening behind us. So we're wanting that. Now, if we don't have that, we want to create that. So we basically want to create a backyard, or if you're in a unit, a balcony, where you can feel safe from the world, where you can see out, but nobody can sort of see in there. And I always use the word, if you can sunbathe naked, if that was your choice. Okay, so you feel completely safe in that space. What a nice day.
It's called visual pollution.
Okay, so the next part of our classic configuration is we want to clearly define our boundaries. And we say when our boundaries are not clearly defined in the physical, we have issues with the boundaries with people in our lives. Now, in our modern day homes, what tends to happen is we tend to stick a garden right in front of the front door, plant a large tree in the middle of that garden so that when you look out the front door, what you look at is the large tree. That's really bad feng shui. Okay? Because it's not allowing the opportunity to come in, it's blocking that opportunity from coming into the space. What we want to do is we want to put the gardens out on the corners of the property so they mark the boundaries and we have that clear view out of our front door. And ideally we do want to have fencing all the way around. And so often I find people that don't want to put up a fence between them and the neighbour because they don't want to offend the neighbour. And everybody spends their time tiptoeing around a whole lot of issues. And in fact both neighbours would actually be happy if there was a fence there because it would give them both that little bit more privacy in their own space. Is anybody getting the idea that feng shui is basically common sense yet? Yeah? Okay. It is. The essence of feng shui is basically common sense. One thing that the Asians did is they studied the movement of different objects and how that affected the lives of the people. But the basics, the essence is all common sense. Now, how many times do we ignore common sense?